Hello and welcome to Finger Thinking, a channel dedicated to analog productivity and creativity tools. Today we have the latest addition to my collection. You would have seen it in the thumbnail, so I can't keep anything a secret. However, let's have a look. The big reveal. My very first Olivetti Lettera 22. Okay, so I've had enough of a look at this machine to know that it exists and that it has both spool nuts. So always something worth checking before you buy a Lettera 22 or a 32, and certainly some of the other Lettera models. Make sure they have these spool nuts. My very first 32 that I bought, I didn't even know what they were. And so I've picked it up. It had been used as a wedding ornament, so they didn't care that it was missing one of the spool nuts. And it's just a pain in the bum because you have to have these spool nuts for it to work, and it's such an unusual size thread. You're not going to just pop down to Bunnings or Home Depot or somewhere and find an alternative makeshift nut. Anyway, it has all the bits that it should come with. It even has a metal spool. So what I think we'll do is we will pull it out of the case and have a look. Okay, so this case I think is the snazziest case I have ever seen, which sounds a bit silly because on camera it just looks like a brown cardboard case. But when the woman I bought it from walked up to the door with this, I couldn't believe my luck. I knew the machine came with a case because in its listing it mentioned that it came with a case, but there was no photo of it, and I wasn't fussed. I just assumed it'd be kind of a beige version of that kind of funny triangular-ish shape, the standard case that comes with these things, the same case that comes with the Lettera 32, but that's a grey with black stripes case normally. Anyway, but then she showed up with this, and I couldn't believe my luck because this is freaking amazing, this case, and it is the only one I have ever seen like it. I went through every Olivetti Lettera 22 in the Typewriter database, and I did not see another case that looks like this. So from the outside, so it's just an upside down suitcase. Right, naturally you want to have it like that, but that's not how this works. It's got two latches. Now they work, but this case is old. Okay, so they were working off camera, so I might need to get out my WD-40 or something. So up until I decided to film this video, those tabs went into those latches. For some reason it doesn't want to work on camera. What can you do? But as we can see, look, this has obviously spent a lot of time in a shed. This is really corroded, and so this hasn't been outside because the condition of the cardboard is good. But just these, I suspect this has been in a garage in a coastal environment. I do live in a coastal city, which is most of Australia. But yeah, so that's a little, certainly the front of it is a little rustier and worse for wear. The side is in pretty good nick. The back, again, good nick as well. Oh, here we go. I can't read what that says. Manufactured by Fibre something limited, New South Wales. Right, so this isn't the original case, which explains, I've just discovered this now. So that explains why I have not seen another case like this, because it's not the factory case. It's an aftermarket case. Well, there you go. I didn't know aftermarket cases were a thing, but obviously the guy wanted something that was a little bit fancier than what came with the machine. So, so it's a bit of a triangular shape, and then this just lifts up, and then we have this tartan line. So this is just a cotton lining, and then we've got two little bits down the side here which sit the typewriter in the middle of the case. Now, I don't think the Lettera 22s come with a carriage lock, so this locates it so that when you pull the top down, it perfectly fits on either side of the carriage knobs. So that's pretty exciting, actually, that this is an aftermarket case. I've never seen one. So that's the case. It also makes it really light. So because this is just cardboard, like that might be 200 grams tops. So the handle is very sturdy. I would, even though these have stopped working up until these decided not to latch anymore, all of 2 minutes ago, I would have been very comfortable carrying this around. So what the top doesn't come off. So these latches aren't designed, these hinges are just fixed hinges. So if you want to type with it in the case, you can, but you're still going to have the top attached. So needs a bit of a vacuum. It's full of a few little bugs in there, so it'll be interesting to see what we find in the machine itself. But let's get this out of the way and have a look at the typewriter. Okay, the background of this machine is that I bought it from the granddaughter of the bloke who originally owned it. So my understanding is that this machine was purchased in New Zealand, so just across the ditch from Australia. He moved to Australia some years ago, obviously long enough ago to get a case like the one we were just looking at that had been made in New South Wales, which is a state of Australia. He bought it in 1951. Well, it's manufactured in 1951 based on the serial number. I don't have the manual or a purchase receipt, so I have no provenance documentation. But yeah, so this is what his granddaughter has said to me. She kept it in the shed for years and years and years because it was Pop's typewriter, which is a pretty common story, but with 3 young boys who could not give a hoot, it ended up on Marketplace. So lucky me. Having a quick glance at it, a couple of the things that I noticed straight off the bat. So this Olivetti badge here, it's not actually a badge. That's actually cast into this plate. So this was around for the 1950, 1951, early 1951 machines. And then it went to a stick-on badge. But that, I just think that looks terrific, that embossed Olivetti. The other thing that I've noticed just glancing at it, and I did go through, again, typewriter database, looking to see how many other typewriters were like this. And I don't understand why it's like this, but it's obviously intentional, is these keys. Now, these keys aren't the gloss keys that are the same as on the shift key. They are matte. I don't know what they're made out of because there's some sort of resin or plastic or something, but if this doesn't pick up in camera in post, I'll come back and I'll zoom in on the keys. But what I can see is I actually can see the rings. It's almost like each one's been turned, which doesn't make a lot of sense. It sounds like a very laborious manufacturing process to me. But yeah, so all of them, we can see the gloss key on the shift, but all of the rest of the keys on the typewriter, a matte, kind of quite sharp-edged disc. So I did see a few typewriters like this, but not many. So as for the rest of the typewriter, it's pretty standard. Now, I do wonder what market this was for. just a second, I'm just going to jump off and see when decimal currency hit New Zealand, because this has a pound key and it has a dollar sign. So if this was made for a British market, it wouldn't have the dollar sign, but then if this was made for the American market, it wouldn't have the pound key. And in Australia, we didn't start seeing machines with both of them until the late 1960s. So I'll just have a look. I'll be back in a sec. Just had a look, and New Zealand didn't go to decimal currency till 1967, which was the year after Australia. So this is quite unusual. Other than that, it's definitely a keyboard that is designed for an English market. There is no other special characters on it. It has the nowadays completely redundant different fractions in here. It does have a plus, which isn't on a lot of machines. So this isn't as, I suppose this is because sometimes this is a 0. So there's no 1, there's no 0. That's what you would use your lowercase l and your uppercase O for. And the rest of the symbols are pretty standard. Okay, let's have a look at the rest of the machine. So there's no carriage lock on this. So on the Lettera 32s, the carriage lock is just down here. This doesn't appear to have that or any other lever, whoops-a-daisy, that suggests a carriage lock. We can see, yeah, we've got some cleaning to do, a bit of blasting. It's in pretty good nick. So if I turn this over, okay. Oh, that stopped. All right, let's turn this over. So the base is in pretty good condition. I wasn't sure what to expect considering the rusty locks on the case, but this looks like this has been treated well its whole life. Even these little rubber feet. Trying to decide if they're original, because they're kind of a bit, the shape of this one, for example, is a little bit funny. They might be. That one also looks like it's a little off center, but then that could actually just be, if I look at it closely, I don't know if the camera will pick that up, that actually I think is just squashed out the side. So yeah, these look like the original feet. Let's turn it over. All right, so I had the cover off a few minutes ago. Inside we have a slightly unusual typeface. I'm not quite sure which one this is, whether it's Congress or Victoria. We will find out when we see if it works. Otherwise, a relatively recent spool, and then one of the much older metal spools, both spool nuts, which is excellent. Let's get some paper and see if it works. So there is something going on with the carriage, because I can't get this to this should stop when I take my hand off it, but it doesn't. It seems that it will stop when I push the space bar down. That will require more investigation. So this video could get interesting. Let's get some paper. Okay. So it does have, interestingly, the same plastic handle or little lever that it is on the 32. That feeds pretty well. Carriage issue. Okay, so I don't know if we can see that. We clearly need a new ribbon. But this, depending on the pitch of it, this might be a Congress. So let's have a look at that now. Let's I'll just get my ruler. All right, so it's definitely not 10. All right, so it was an 11. It is 12 characters per inch. So it is the Olivetti Elite Victoria typeface. So pretty cool. I don't have this typeface on either of my other machines. Okay, as we have a few gremlins in this machine, particularly around the carriage return, and it doesn't look like the ribbon winder is working either. So I'm going to pull this apart, we're going to clean it, and then I'm going to come back and see if I can fix these two issues that I've found so far and any others that I discover along the way. Before I clean it, I will do a key test and see at least if all the keys move. One of the reasons I took the ribbon out first is because if it wasn't moving, I didn't want to wear a hole in it, even though it looks like the ribbon definitely needs replacing. Sometimes I like to re-ink the ribbons with a different color, which I'll show in a video one day. But for now, yeah, so I take the ribbon out and then all I want to do is see if the keys actually move. And as it so happens, there's more of an imprint with the ribbon not in it, just because there's obviously a lot of residual ink on these keys. The bell works, one of my favorite things. That was a nice, crisp, loud bell, so happy with that. Okay, so backspace works. Tab works. And that's the margin release key. Okay, so let's carry on with the cleaning. First things first, let's blast out some of that grime with the CompuCleaner Expert. And I can already see you might not get that on camera, but there's a little bug carcass there anyway, so there's definitely some grime to come out of this. So considering how much dirt is coming out of this, I think I'm going to take the back off before I do any more blasting. Just in case you wanted to have a look at what those little feet look like, they're actually little bell-shaped bits of rubber with a screw in the middle. So definitely original and not aftermarket. The screws themselves, so not threaded all the way in, have a bit of a shaft before we go into the thread. I'll tell you what, if you like playing with typewriters and you haven't got some sort of compressed air blower tool, I've never used the cans because they just seem like such an inefficient way of doing things and such a waste of time and waste of money, basically. I spent 2 years playing with typewriters before I bought one of these, and then it sat in a box for a couple of months because I just hadn't got around to getting it out. Gee, I'm happy with this. So this was 99 bucks on Amazon. That wasn't on sale. I don't know if it's ever on sale. I normally only buy things on sale, but this one looked really good. It's mains powered. There are other ones which are just battery powered. I wasn't sure exactly how strong, like powerful their motor would be, and I didn't want to waste money on a battery powered one. The cord is really long, and I don't need it to be battery powered because I only use it in the one place. But gee, it makes cleaning these so much easier. And when you blow a lot of this dirt out, you don't have to get in there and do as much scrubbing with kind of alcohol swabs and bits and pieces as I used to have to. So if you are a typewriter servicing enthusiast, definitely recommend some sort of blower. All right, so I don't know how well the camera picks up how filthy this cream towel is now. This definitely needs a shake off or something before I continue because I can't stand looking at it. But there was a lot of just not serious dust, but just particulate matter, which is kind of collected in the machine over its 74 years of life. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, so I've given the machine a blast out, and off camera I put the base back on because if you don't have the base on, then the internals drag on the surface, and so you can't do any proper typing or fairly test the carriage unless you've got something else to prop it up. So the base is back on, and what I thought to do is once all the bits and pieces and dead bug bodies and stuff had been blasted out of it, I thought I'd just do some more typing without the ribbon in to see if just a little bit of use might loosen stuff up again. And so I've done a number of rows now, and it appears I haven't had the carriage skip as I'm typing a single time like I did at the beginning of the video. The issue that I'm still having intermittently is when I do a row return, sometimes it won't stick. So you'll see there, it didn't want to catch the first time, but it caught the second time. So if we just do a little bit of typing, okay, I've typed most of a row there and it hasn't skipped at all. So I suspect that that's a non-issue. The other thing that I have noticed is when the ribbon was in it, it looked like the ribbon winder wasn't working. I suspect that was just how the ribbon was put in, and maybe one of the spool nuts was not correctly tensioned. I hadn't checked that before I started to test it, because you'll notice that when I type, this left ribbon winder is the active one, so it is rotating. So that's rotating as I use it. The plan has been, I'll just keep typing a little bit to see if I can start getting the escapement to engage on a row return. So we're at the end of the row, let's try it. So that worked. That's a surprise. I have been trying it on the different line spacings. There's 1, 2, and 3 line spacings here. So I've got it. When I type words, I can't type junk because I end up hitting too many keys at the same time and jamming it up. So I'll just type out my thoughts as if I was speaking. Okay, so it missed and then it was okay. One of the things that happens is that if I return this and then I hit the space bar, that does engage it and move it along one. So, because what's happening is there's a little kind of plate that isn't engaging with the escapement mechanism once I do a row return. So it's doing the right thing and engaging after each space or each time I hit a key, but it's not engaging with the row return. Without taking the carriage off, I can't show that on camera, but what I will do is, just in case it's a little bit old, there is a port underneath the machine, and so I might try flushing it from that port with a little bit of alcohol, the isopropyl alcohol, just to see if that might dissolve any grease that might be sticking things up. One of the reasons that I just use Isocol, that's the brand that you get over here. One of the reasons that I like the isopropyl alcohol is it doesn't leave a residue and it completely evaporates. I find if you use methyl or white spirits or something, then you can get a residue. So I know that's used a lot. I'm not a fan of it. I like the alcohol, even if it takes a couple of extra goes with it. Okay, so this is the underside of the Lettera 22, and it is really clean. So yeah, we've blown out that little bit of kind of dust and grit and bug bodies, but everything here, like, it's not full of grease or gunk or anything else. It's not rusty. It's all in very good condition. So the problem that we have is a plate that sits under here. Now, to get to it, we have to come in from the top, and I don't really want to do that. So I'm going to try and cheat. And there is this little hole here, is directly underneath the escapement gear. So what's happening is, it's fine for when we're trying to shift the carriage one way. When we do the return, it doesn't like it. It won't re-engage. So this is where I'm just going to flush it a little bit. I've not done this before, so we'll see if it works. I'm going to flush it a little bit with some alcohol. And to do that, I have, I have a syringe. I'm just going to dip it in my alcohol. So this is a blunt tip syringe. So this is the sort of syringe that I use for refilling ink cartridges for my fountain pens. But yeah, so got some alcohol in there now. And I'm just going to squeeze that in the hole. So I put a couple of mil in there. I don't think the quantity really matters. I'm going to turn it back over, put the plate back on the bottom, and then start typing and see if it's made any difference. Okay, so I've just got the typewriter. I've put the rest of the base plate back on, but I haven't screwed it in because it's a pain in the bum. So I'll just sit that on something else for now, so it's just a little bit raised. And straight away, all I've done is put some alcohol in there. It's dissolved whatever was sticking up the little mechanism, and straight away, how easy was that? Literally, I have not done anything else off camera than exactly that, and immediately this is doing exactly what it should. And all it was a little bit of alcohol just in that service point. So with that there, and we know that the ribbon winder works, they're all the issues that I could find with it. So I am going to screw the base back on properly, and I'll be back in a moment. Far out, I can't believe how easy that was to fix. I thought I'd be here all night trying to fix that, so I'm stoked. So what I'm going to do now is just wipe down the rest of the body and the keys, just kind of clean that up a little bit. But so far, this machine is looking like a little ripper. All right, I think we're at a point where we can put a ribbon in this, see if it works, and then do just a features review. Okay, so I have a new ribbon. You can tell this is a cheap Chinese ribbon because it's been wound on upside down, but that's okay. This is just proof of concept. Let's see if it works. Oh, so we've got a bit of alcohol in here. So this alcohol here will have come from when I squirted the alcohol into that service point. So I'm just going to blow that off with the air gun. Okay, the red works. So does the black. So, excellent. I think it's time to do a features review of this machine. Okay, so if we go from back to front, then it's a pretty standard machine. This one has the margin tabs. It's a pretty standard design. This is on all Olivetti's. I don't really like the design, to be honest, because I find them a little bit difficult to move sometimes. They always tend to be easier to move one way than the other, but these ones at least still work, and they're not rusted in, which is great. Next we have the paper stands. I did a review of a Facet TP1 machine recently, and it was the first machine I'd owned that had the parallel pronged paper stands, only they were like windscreen wipers, so they were fixed travel, they moved together. These ones are independent of each other, so you can stylistically have them like that. They're obviously designed to go all the way up. One thing I would say is be careful putting them back down, that you don't push them in too far, because then you might struggle to get them back out again. Though that said, as soon as I've said that, I've realized that they're designed to go down and then you just push these tabs here. So this side, you push it down, and what should happen is, no, maybe this one first. There we go. That one first, and then that one second. They come up that way, so you can completely move them from view. We have our carriage release, which is working now, which it wasn't a few minutes ago. We have our paper bale. Now this is just a really standard paper bale, up and down. It's got a couple of metal rollers that slide along. If we go back, we do have a ruler at the back. So this is a 10-inch machine. There are no rulers further at the front. There isn't a ruler. This is not a ruler. I think I should check my letterer. That's a ruler on the letterer, but I might be wrong. We have line spacing. So there is single, double, and triple. So 1, 2, 3 over here. And this is a little bit different. So often on the machines, it's just you move them. This one you actually need to pull it out of the little groove to then move the lever along. So that pushes into the groove. You need to pull it back a little bit and then move it along. Pull it back a little bit and move it along. And we have a 0 as well. In addition to the single, double, and triple line spacing, and then the 0 setting is just free rolling, What you also have is if you have it on a line setting, there is this knob. Whoops-a-daisy. This knob here, if you push it in, that allows you to variable space. So you push it in and then you can just do a little bit of variable spacing without having to change the lever all the way back to 0. Okay, so really easy. Obviously we have our carriage return. This little lever folds back for storage. We have the paper release, which is this lever here. Pull that forward. And that's about it for the actual paper for the carriage and the platen. I'm going to put my piece of paper back in it. Okay, so now I'm going to demonstrate the spacing width. Now let's put it on 2. That isn't the machine, that is me hitting the keys very poorly. So one of the things this machine does have is it does have half spacing on it, which we'll get to in a second. And because I did not type cleanly, I've got keys going everywhere. Let's try that line again. That was better, I still messed it up there. And now we'll do triple spacing. Okay, if I roll that up. So single spacing, I did a couple of rows of double spacing just because I didn't type it cleanly. And then there's a row of triple spacing. So if we look at this half spacing, what we find is if we listen, let's put that back in the center of the screen. So let's just listen. And what we have on the Lettera, the 22, and I think it's the same on the 32, they have this half spacing feature. And what that means is that the carriage advances half a space on the way when you push the space bar down, and then it advances the second half of a space on the way up. So if I push this down, the carriage has moved a little bit. When I let it up, the carriage, that's the second half of the space. So it's not just doing a full space in one go. So what this lets you do is if you had messed up a sentence, so if we go back and I try, so this is single spacing. Let's put that back in single spacing. If I make a mistake typing this, okay, so I've left the I out of single for now. I'm not going to get out the liquid paper and white it out and then type over it, but that's what you would do. And how you would fit it into the space is you'd type, this is the same, but then when I had pushed the space bar down, whilst the space bar is held down, then I'd press the S, then it comes up, then I'd press it down again. And then I continue like normal. So you'll see that if I roll this up, When I've typed it correctly, it takes 1 extra character width. When I've typed it incorrectly without the I, we're 1 character spacing shorter. So when I use the single spacing, when I use the half spacing, by pinching half a space from this gap and half a space from this gap, I can actually fit the full word single in that same spacing as the row above. So just something to be aware of if you ever wanted to use it. I don't tend to use my typewriters for anything formal enough that it needs a typo corrected. They're just used because I like to download my thoughts and just get first drafts and stuff out on a typewriter, because you can't edit on a typewriter. Unless you wanted to do that, and I could not give a hoot about doing that, but it's there if you need it. Now, with the rest of the features, we have the 2-color ribbon. I can spend my time putting this on the right way, or I could just pay a little bit more and get a more expensive ribbon. But again, for these cleaning and testing videos, I only use the cheapies. I do like, which are half the price of the quality ribbons. But I do like the quality ribbons, so any machine that I'm going to get out and use for a while, I put the quality ribbon in it. So that works. The ribbon winder works. I suspect why it wasn't working beforehand is that just the nut tension was not correct. So that's something that you just have to pay attention to. You might have one too tight or too loose. It's a little bit Goldilocks. So this red button is the tab button, and this lever here is the set and clear lever. So let's try the tabs. So at the moment I have a tab there. Okay, so there's a few tabs in this. So let's see if up is clear. Yep, so up is clear. Again, let's clear that. Let's clear that. Right, all clear. Now, if I wanted to set, I just pull that down. So another one, down. Another one. All right. So there's the first one, there's the second one, and there's the third one. So that's all pretty straightforward. So if I want to clear all of the tabs in a single go, all I have to do is press this lever up and then just trouble the carriage the whole way. And then we'll find that that's all clear. All right, I think everything else on this keyboard is the same as a typical typewriter. So this is your shift key, this is your shift lock key. This unmarked one is the tab. It's not red on every model. There are periods of time where it's black. And then this is the margin release key here as well. And I don't think this has the trick where if your keys jam, then pushing the margin release flicks them back down. So that's not a thing on this. And the only other thing is in here, on this side, there is a little lever, and this lever here is your touch selection. So if I turn that around, we can actually see that it's got a 1, 2, 3, 4 on there. So depending on what I want, 1, 2, 3, 4. So again, I don't typically think that this makes much of a difference, but it's there if you need it. Now, as for the serial number on this machine, you'll find that it is hidden just down the back in here. Okay, so from having a look at the typewriter database, they are a little bit all over the place because they're all manually stamped. People are going to make mistakes. So I suspect there are probably typewriters out there with the same serial number. I have seen situations where the wrong number's been stamped, so they've ground it back and then stamped another number over the top. There are periods of time where the very early ones of these, I think, had an S prefix, and then they go to different numbering conventions depending on which factory it is, and I suppose who was in charge at the time, because it's a little inconsistent. Anyway, that is the Olivetti Lettera 21. So I'm going to go away, do some typing on this, come back and give my final thoughts. Okay, so I've now been typing on this machine for a couple of hours, so I thought I would give my final thoughts. First of all, the fix is held up, so the somewhat unconventional flushing of the escapement mechanism through that service hole with the alcohol seems to have worked. So it still holds its position, the carriage holds its position, which is great. So hopefully with a bit of continued use that keeps up. If for some reason it seems to act up again, I'll try the flush. The ribbon winder is working. Everything else is working great. So the machine itself, things I do like is I like the sound of it typing. I did get out my Lettera 32 to compare the two, just to make sure how I remembered the action of the Lettera 32, to make sure I remember that correctly. Now the 32 is faster. It's a really quick machine. This one has a much, I think it's a nicer feel. The sound is nice. On my other one, it's a bit of a tinny sound. This is more of a clack, 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 which I really like. I also got tired of having the ribbon upside down, so I fixed that up. So that all works great. The font is a nice one. It's a funny one. You get so used to looking at the standard Pica and standard Elite that you get a different font, and it's like, oh, okay, I've got to read it differently. Or maybe that's just me. So the font's pretty cool. I like the fact that it's just not the same as everything else. The backspace on this is nice and light. It's heavier on my 32. The bell on this is good. The paper feeds easily. So the only thing that I think is a bit weird is, so these kind of disc keys, so they're just flat discs with quite a sharp edge on them. So you remember earlier in the video I was talking about that this is a little bit unusual. Most of the keys on the Lettera 22s, the ones that had the round keys, had the same sort of finish that's on the shift key, this more of a gloss finish with a rounded edge. So I can understand why there wasn't an overwhelming amount of these flat discs. They just, my fingers don't fall off the keys like they sometimes do on the 32, but it just feels a bit weird. And so I have so many machines that have a concave finish to the key to just anchor your fingers. This doesn't have that. So yeah, your fingers have no natural resting point. So that wasn't my favorite. Otherwise, I think this machine's a success. I'm so happy with it. I'm so happy that I got it up and working. I love the case, even if I've realized now it's an aftermarket case. And if another one of these came up, I'd absolutely buy it. So fingers crossed that like a salmon pink one shows up. That would be amazing. But I'd also have to move fast because there would be a lot of competition for it. So thank you very much for joining me here at Finger Thinking. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it was useful. It wasn't just a kind of clean and test. It was an actual fix for a problem that's probably reasonably common, but I couldn't find a fix for it. So there you go. Yeah, so if you've enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate your support. I look forward to seeing you again in a future video. Have a great day.